Once again, salam alaikum. It's a pleasure to be back to Baku. Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to session 1. Please let me share some housekeeping related to our session. First, I would like to ask all participants to put their cell phones and iPads to silent mode in order to have efficient hearing for us. Today we have very interesting speakers. In a few minutes I will brief introduction about them. Today's topic is very important, especially when Azerbaijan is targeting to increase investment climate in order to bring investors to non-oil economy. Today we will also discuss recent economic reforms and increasing investment climate, and also will touch challenges. Our session will last 60 minutes, so it's not so boring. It will not be so heavily involved. And we will have a Q&A session, which will give opportunity to people attending to the session to give questions to our esteemed speakers. We will accept questions, and our esteemed speakers will respond to them. Now I would like to introduce our esteemed speakers. Our first speaker is Mr. Sahil Babayev, Deputy Minister of Economy. Mr. Babayev joined to the Minister of Economy as a Deputy Minister in 2009. Before, he was the Director of Department on Cooperation with International Organization at the Ministry. He was a co-chair of European Union Subcommittee on Trade, Economy and Legal Issues. Before joining the Ministry of Economy, he was working for Parliament of Azerbaijan and also at SOCAR, State Oil of Azerbaijan Company. Mr. Babayev is a member of Board of Directors, SOCAR Turkey Manufacturing Complex, it's called STAR, and also Chairman of Supervisory Board of Tamiz Shahar Joint Stock Company. He has a PhD degree from Baku State University. Mr. Babayev, welcome to our session. Pleasure to have you here. Our second speaker will be Mr. Sanan Nasibli. Mr. Nasibli has been heading Dubai Chamber's representative office in Azerbaijan.
Minister talked about the security indicator, but the overall competitiveness also were number 1 in all CIS for last 8 countries. For the per capita investments, foreign investments, were also among first 3 countries in CIS, and UN Human Development Report have ranked Azerbaijan at the high human development country. So we have labor force, we have financial stability, we have macroeconomic stability, as well as reserves. We have the desire, we have the best business climate, and we have the political will to support our foreign investors. We have a vision to turn Azerbaijan as one of the leading product producers, non-oil product producers in this region, and to enhance both the volume and geography of our export. So I wish to all of you a successful cooperation during this panel, and on my behalf also I would like to invite you to be very active.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Deputy Minister. I think we are getting a lot of people joining us. I will kindly ask organizers to help with the sound there. Thank you. Our second speaker will be Mr. Nasibli. Mr. Nasibli, since 2012, you are heading Dubai Chamber's representative office in this country. In your opinion, and based on your frequent conversation with UAE business community, what needs to be done in order to create a more attractive investment climate for UAE investors in Azerbaijan? What sectors in your discussion are interested for them? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taguieff. Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I think His Excellency Minister Mustafayev did a wonderful job promoting and explaining all the great efforts the government has put together to take this country out of this crisis, challenging situation, and all the great benefits that foreign investors, as well as local investors, can enjoy in Azerbaijan. I would like to take my 10 minutes, as Mr. Lagiv kindly noted, to discuss the environment from a private sector perspective, and particularly from the point of the medium and small companies, which our office in Azerbaijan services most. As Mr. Giv noted, we are responsible for Dubai Chamber's engagement in the CIS, so we do a lot of comparative analysis of the CIS markets. And of course, investment, and particularly foreign direct investment, is very fluid and is very flexible and very fast in reacting to, the best markets in the neighborhood. And in this regard, it's a pleasure to note that Azerbaijan enjoys a definite advantage over other CIS markets for many aspects, and I will be going over them in my speech as well. I think there are three sets of questions that any investor, particularly an SME type, is asking itself when considering a market. And the questions and the sets of questions are, is the country welcoming, and are we as foreign investors welcomed in this destination? Can we plan and run our businesses as per our standards and transparently? And can we exit when we want to? In terms of the country being welcoming and foreign investors being welcoming, and of course the answer here is a definite yes. Azerbaijan has recently introduced certain visa facilitation rules for GCC citizens, which led to a tremendously successful year of tourism, this being year 2016, which naturally will assist with attracting more investments and helps investors feel more welcome in this very promising destination. We experience taking our missions to other CIS destinations as well, and we've had cases when, for example, a visa was issued to a prominent business person for just 3 days, the duration of the trip, which in their frank admission indicates, certain limitations to, helping feel a foreign investor welcome in a certain destination. Where in Azerbaijan, of course, it was not the case, and right now with visa facilitation, it's no longer a question. Openness and availability of stakeholders, and I mean both the government, the public sector, and the private sector, associations. This, of course, is a very definite yes as well. All of the stakeholders in Azerbaijan are very, very available for engagement. You can meet anyone from Excellencies ministers to department heads to leaders of private corporations, associations. Everyone is readily available to discuss your case, your situation, your questions, and provide you with guidance to help your introduction to the market very smooth. And availability of information. All of the government decisions are being publicly broadcast. They're publicized on the websites. And can be readily available. This is one area probably I can recommend an improvement is a quick translation of legislative documents into English and their publication on websites. We've observed, which is typical for many CIS destinations, CIS countries, where, of course, public documents are published in the official language, but their translation into English and other languages usually lacks. So this is something Azerbaijan, I think, can pay extra attention to as well, translating those documents into English and having them available on public and private websites. Second set of questions is, can I run my business effectively and transparently? And the answer is, of course, is a definite yes. As His Excellency Minister and Dr. Babayev noted, availability of talent is probably Azerbaijan's number one advantage. We have a highly educated population, which is also multilingual. We had a business forum last week, which I participated in as an audience, and was listening to a panel of 7 people discussing Azerbaijan's potential as a transportation and logistics hub. And it was very heartwarming to see how a panel of 7, with 6 being local senior managers, spoke fluently and discussed a very complex issue in English with the international audience, discussed the country's potential, flow of goods and services, and this is what Azerbaijan is about. There is talent available, it is multilingual, it is experienced, and foreign investors can definitely tap into this pool and benefit in planning and running their operations. Transparency of borders and transparency of the country in general. We've been witnessing increasing efforts by the government to introduce additional transparency into the economy and the way the business is run and operated, which includes e-governance, economy, customs operations, tax operations. And this is a very heartening, I think, example for the foreign investment community to see the government being committed by announcing and implementing very important transparency tools to help businesses planning and operate their businesses in Azerbaijan. Logistically, Azerbaijan is very well connected. We are aware of many government-financed large international infrastructure projects being implemented to connect the north-south, east-west, the new Silk Road, and of course the traditional north-south transportation corridor. These things are being not only announced and supported politically, but also financed by the government, which speaks of the government's commitment to make most of Azerbaijan's position, and of course create condition for the local and international business community to take advantage of its potential and geographic position. And the newly introduced port of Alat is another example of the government's strategic vision and implementation. One of the areas which I think can be improved, and we know the government is doing a great stride, taking a great effort to change this, is availability of funding, particularly manat-based funding in the country, and stability of the currency rate, which again is a short-term challenge that will be addressed in the near future. And can we exit when we want to? This is a very developed market with significant professional advisory services and resources available in the market to guide foreign investors, to evaluate projects, to analyze and run projects, as well as, the country itself is a transparent market on its own. So can we exit when we want to? Yes. Of course, the latest situation with the economy and challenges, they are typical of the region and many countries in the world that may complicate evaluating certain projects and exiting, but in the mid and long run, of course, these challenges will be resolved, and we expect Azerbaijan to continue being a transparent, functioning.
For joining us today and also sharing your experience with UAE investors. It's very important to hear from somebody who has day-to-day dialogue with investors to hear your comments. Thank you very much on this. Our final speaker is Mr. Aliyev. Mr. Aliyev, welcome. For the last 20 years, you are actively involved in development of banking, building corporate governance. In your opinion, and considering current economic situation in this country, what needs to be done in 2017 in order to create an investment environment where investors can come and invest with local investors, local partners in non-oil sector of this country? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tagiyev. Thank you very much, the forum, and to make speech. I would, first of all, would say that the previous speakers touched upon very important sectors, Mr. Bayev and Mr. Nasibli. I'm actually in line with what they say. Would like to a little bit elaborate on some sectors and some topics. In particular, I think 2016, if we want to look at 2017 as the year of further reforms in the country, this cannot be looked at in isolation of what has happened in 2016 and continues to happen in 2016. I think we all are living in the era of significant reforms for Azerbaijan. We are living in that, we are boiling in that.
With your permission, I will open discussion for questions, and I would like to give floor to Dr. Effendi, if he is here. I don't see him. Do you have a microphone? Dr. Effendi is a principal economist at ICD, and I would like to, with your permission, briefly convey his perspective on the subject matter. Is there anything we are missing here, and what will your advice in terms of speaking as a chief economist? What is the ICD perspective of doing business in Azerbaijan? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samir. First of all, let me congratulate all the panelists for the excellent, productive discussion here. And as my colleague Samir mentioned, our background is basically maybe I'll stand up. The background is we come from the development institution, and our perspective is to understand clearly what are the binding constraints of the private sector and with the countries that we are dealing with. And so far what we do, we daily basis diagnose the private sector of our 57 member countries. And our takeaway so far for Azerbaijan is that for the last 5-7 years, there are some chronic type of challenges, issues of the private sector that are facing now. Those are mainly access to affordable finance and some macro-institutional challenges that basically most of them you mentioned in your presentation. And the question is, I have two questions from that point of view. One is basically Mr. Vugar and Sanan maybe can answer from the empirical point of view, whether those challenges that SMEs or private sector used to face throughout the years before the kind of crisis happened, whether they remain same or the issues, challenges are reshaped. We have new challenges of the private sector that we need to know. And my second question is to His Excellency Mr. Sail regarding whether development institutions need to change their value proposition and contribution when it comes to addressing those new challenges of the private sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Definitely yes. Definitely the development institutions should also revisit their policy toward Azerbaijan. What have changed? As I mentioned, we couldn't yet fully manage to diversify our export. And 85%, 86% of our export is oil and oil-related, gas-related products, which has dropped in the price 3-4 times. So main commodity Azerbaijan was selling has dropped in the price for 3-4 times. And of course, the currency that's coming to Azerbaijan has decreased. And from that perspective, we needed to go through a devaluation procedure for our currency. Plus to that, we needed to go through in order to keep our reserves to the decline in our state expenditures. Mainly, when you decrease, first of all, the devaluation had a negative impact in a way that the access to the financing has decreased. But at the same time, it made a lot of positive impact to the private sector producing certain goods, because their competitiveness and the competitiveness has increased, their cost has decreased, labor force has decreased, their local cost has decreased, and their competitiveness increased in the other markets on the price terms. But the access to financing has become more harder in Azerbaijan because of the high value of the financing. In this situation, development banks, development organizations can support Azerbaijan by attaching more importance, more priority toward the private sector. And not only, the traditional instrument that development agencies, institutions are using is credit lines through the banks. Yes, it's good instrument. It's good instrument to support especially small and medium size enterprises, and we support continuation of that. But we want more priority towards equity participation, more priority towards direct lending to the company, because while you are lending directly to a company or while you are investing in the equity capital of the company, the corporate structure, corporate governance of the company also changes. Plus to that, you bring more recognizable recognition for this company, for the future markets and so on. Therefore, we would like the development organizations to pay more attention toward the private sector. B, we would like to pay more attention toward the direct lending and equity participation. And this is the same not only for IDB Group, this is the same for EBRD, for World Bank, for Islamic ADB, and for Eurasian Bank, and so on. We now offer to all our partner development banks to pay forward more attention toward this direction. And, of course, the local banks of Azerbaijan, where the development agencies are participants, we are trying to promote their activities toward the non-oil sector of Azerbaijan, toward the financing on the production. Because that's another handicap that we're facing. The challenge that we have had in the banking sector was due to, among various other, let's say, reasons. One of them was a high margins and mainly creditizing the consumers products or consumers financing, but more accent should pass toward the production. And also the private business attitude has changed. That also should be taken into consideration. Previously, when the high volume of the currency were coming into the country, high spendings by the state, high investment portfolio of the state ended up with the increasing prices, with higher inflation, and plus to that higher resources concentration in the hands of a very big bulk of the population. They were mainly used afterwards toward the services. Therefore, it was much more profitable to open a restaurant, to open a hotel, to open a service facilities, while the production facilities rate of return was lower than the services sector. Therefore, private sector also was tending more towards to this service sector. Now, after the devaluation and the production sector became much more profitable in Azerbaijan, and we have seen that during the last 6 months. The organizations that were open in the non-oil sector, mainly production entities, that received the investment promotion certificate, a number of them is more than 70, total investment volume is more than 1 billion, and the total employment is around 5,000. So you can imagine that in the non-oil sector, in the regions of Azerbaijan, during the last 6 months, a total worth of 1 billion projects have started. That also showed that the private sector is more tending toward the production-wise. I can talk a lot about it, but unfortunately we have a time limitations. I would like to pass the floor to my partners, colleagues, for the second question.
I understand the question on how you structure it, reshaped challenges. It's a very good phrase. I will remember that. I would say the challenge is basically, in substance, there are some progress, but still the major challenges for medium-sized enterprises in particular are in current circumstances, are Azeri-Manat liquidity problems, local currency problems, because banks have difficulties in getting local currency, Azeri-Manat loans, and it is understandable. We can talk a lot about this and the consequences of providing Azeri-Manat liquidity to clients by banks. Look at it from macroeconomic perspectives. It may boost inflation, it may boost foreign currency exchange rates, but still the challenge is the challenge. Banks are basically not in position, not just they want or they don't want, not in position to provide local currency loans in the volume which the businesses need in Azerbaijan. I'm being very concrete and particular in terms of the answering your question. The second biggest challenge, I would say, okay, we said about liberalization of the customs regime and the gateways to Azerbaijan, which is absolutely fantastic achievement for Azerbaijan, I would say for the last maybe 10 years. But the issue is still there should be proper interaction between the customs and the Ministry of Taxes to ensure that it's integrate and have basically smooth transition from, let's say, less liberalized customs regime to liberalized customs regime, which means that companies, especially import or export-oriented companies, they may face challenges in terms of recoverability of the taxes they pay on the entrance or on the exit, depending on what kind of issues they have. We can talk about many things about it, but again, coming back to my original comment, we are in the era of reforms. We do feel that sometimes it is very challenging, it is very painful, but I think we need to be a little bit more patient and wait what happens in 2017. So reforms cannot happen overnight, and things done in 2016, I frankly, as an external and independent consultant, I can say I would not imagine so much could have happened in our country in 1 year. So, okay, challenges are there. We all know what are they, but in my view, 17 is going to be a more productive year in terms of helping and actually responding to those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, do you want to add something?
Yes, please. I would like to add a couple of other issues regarding this challenges issue to what Mr. Rugar Muallim has mentioned. We made certain inspections, discussions, review polls about what were the main challenges, and we wanted constantly to reform them. Rugar Muallim mentioned one of them, for example, customs. So there was a tremendous reforms, tremendous shift in the customs, and transparency, electronic custom procedures have been ensured. Another challenge was state inspections. There were too many state inspections. As I mentioned, 60,000 last year. We fully stopped that, and during the 9 months of this year, there were just 61 inspections. Licensing system was challenged. It fully renovated now. Within 5 days, you can get the license for any activity in Azerbaijan. Plus to that, the number of licenses and permits 2 times were cut. And time frame for it was established at a 5 day. The term of the license now forever. So you do not need to reissue for the licenses every year. State procurement system was a challenge. Most of the companies complaining that they cannot fully participate in the state procurements. This was fully reformed now. 80% of all state procurements are going through open bidding procedures. Another big change happened in the transit sphere. The 40% of the tariffs were cut, the costs have been decreased, and a lot of new actors entered. Now you don't need to for passing your cargo transit through Azerbaijan, you don't need to go to the shipping company, to the railway company, to the highway company, to the port separate. You can sign one contract and get one tariff now. And many other new mechanisms have been, mainly of them, the Board of Appeal. Now any entrepreneur who wishes to appeal for the unjust or unlawful approach and evaluation of their document, they can go to the Board of Appeal under the President administration, under the President himself.
Our speakers are not leaving. They will be with us in the coffee break. Yes. Yes, Mike, please. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Sanjeev Chadha. I represent the board of Ansar Leasing. We have been in this country for 8 years now, and it was one of the first investment of ICD in the leasing sector. I have a question to the minister, a very simple and direct question. Recently, there were few commercial banks, the licenses were withdrawn. Okay, now the individual deposits are taken care by the bank insurance. How about the corporate deposits? We have money stuck in the bank and we are not able to fund the SMEs. So this is, I want to know your assurance whether we are going to get our money back. Number two, I want to ask Mr. Aliyev, since he is, also advising the government, that in such a case, in any developing market, generally the central bank takes over the bank and either gets it merged with another bank or they capitalize it so that the investors are not losing their money. So this also shakes a lot of confidence in the economy. So if you could, give us a confidence back that we are going to get our money back, and how quickly.
Of course, according to the legislation, whatever the procedures are. But as you know, there's a priority orders in repaying back the assets of the various physical and legal persons in the closing banks, and your amount, as far as I understand, is within the insured amount category and shall be definitely repaid. We have raised this issue in front of the Cabinet of Ministers, how to speed up this. Closing a bank, it's a very burdensome and long-lasting procedure all over the world, not only in Azerbaijan. And the same situation can happen in most of the countries where the financial challenges happen or is happening. And I think that we, during this year, have closed around 11 banks, if I correctly remember. And this procedure was aiming to strengthen the financial system, the banking system of the country. And I would like to highlight that in all discussions with international development agencies, including World Bank, our European Bank, Islamic Bank, the very first comment, the very first recommendation of the development institution was given to Azerbaijani government that close down immediately all toxic banks. Because if you let them to continue functioning, you will create and enlarge bigger and bigger the problematic assets. Therefore, government has taken a very strong and very hard decision, because it has touched upon not only the companies, but it has touched thousands of the population. Until now, more than 600 million is repaid by the government for these toxic assets of the private banks, and billions were invested to the International Bank of Azerbaijan to refinance its, let's say, toxic assets. So this is a burdensome procedure. This is not an easy procedure, and according to legislation, all the money shall be repaid definitely. The Azerbaijani government has taken very strict steps toward this direction. Plus, to that, in addition to Azerbaijani legislation, also ICD has got an international treaty as a part of IDB group, international treaty for Azerbaijan, where under that treaty also all your investments are protected. So be sure that this money shall be revoked. We are trying to speed up that because according to the local legislation, first physical persons' assets should be repaid. Thereafter it goes to the legal persons. But as you have also international treaty with Azerbaijan, we are trying to speed up, to push up that. But can we not to close the banks? No, we have to close. If we don't close the banks, we shall generate much bigger toxic bubble in the banking system of Azerbaijan. And as far as I understand, the chamber of the control for the control of banking sector and central bank together, they are taking these actions together with the leading specialists, leading experts, with the consultancy of the leading companies. Therefore, I think that this process shall take a bit some more time, but at the end of the day, it's a must for strengthening the financial system of Azerbaijan.
Thank you. Thank you all. With this, I would like to conclude our session because we're behind of the agenda. I see organizers are pushing me. I wish you a successful coffee break. Thank you.